if a customer can use our product and cause a positive drug test, then the 50 nanograms of THC that the drugs test for is too low. If it doesn't pass it doesn't pop positive on a drug test, then we know that our customers can use it without any product. Baseball players are using it like crazy. We've got, we basically attacked the minor league market because in Major League Baseball,
Hey guys, it's Mandi with Global Hemp Association. I wanted to say thank you so much for joining. I'm excited about the opportunity to build a relationship and connect this supply chain. I mean, after all, that's why we started the association. Our association was built on the foundation of connecting supply chain, building relationships, and helping you grow your business. Anyone from farmers, manufacturers, and distributors, people that are passionate about the supply chain, and those creating products selling into biofuels, plastics, textiles, construction, and building materials.
Hello, welcome everybody. Thank you very much for joining us today. I'm excited about this discussion and time to chat and connect everybody. If you are joining, please drop us a note. Let us know where you're joining from. Say hello. Make sure that you subscribe. Go over to our YouTube channel after the show. Not right now, but after the show. Drop a note and definitely subscribe to our YouTube channel. We record these and then reshare. There's like 400 hours of recorded content with different executives and different meetings over on our YouTube channel, all focused on the industrial hemp industry. So welcome, Jeff. Thank you very much for joining today. I'm excited to have you. Absolutely. I guess I'll just turn it over to you real quick. Tell me a little bit about who you are, what you do. You're in sunny Florida. I'm a little bit jealous.
Well, you know, it's funny. I've only been in the industry now. It seems like only, but going on, I guess, 6 years. In about 2015, 16, I was sitting on my couch. I just sold another business and spent 6 months doing Ancestry.com, and my wife told me to go get a job. And so I started mentoring some Sigma Chi's down at FIU, Florida International University in Miami. And 3 of them were the marketing company for a company called Green Roads. Mm-hmm. And I got to meet the founders of Green Roads, RB, Laura, and Jimmy and Danny, and ended up being a lobbyist for them for 3 years, legalizing both the research and commercialization of hemp in Florida. And then finally a glitch bill in the 3rd session. And then after that, realizing that we'd pretty much done just about everything we could do legislatively, launched the Florida Hemp Council, which is the largest 501c6 state organization, I believe, in the country. And then most recently launched Green's Reserve, which is the hemp snuff and hemp soil amendment / mulch that we're going to be selling very soon. We're already selling the snuff, but we're going to start selling the mulch next quarter. So it has been a pretty wild ride, learning the space. You know, my background and history is unregulated markets. I got into the mortgage industry back before it was regulated. I got into the compressed natural gas industry before it was regulated. And now I'm in cannabis before it's heavily regulated. And then jumping into the virtual and cryptocurrency world before it's regulated. So it's a theme that I've pretty much lived my entire life on.
Some people would say that's chasing a high. That's pretty exciting. So where would you compare? Like, how do you compare the cannabis industry to some of these other markets that you've been in as they've,
you know, I think it's more stigmatic. I think that more people are, it's a little bit more restrictive. When you start saying, you know, the mortgage industry was just one of those industries where nobody knows how to do it. So it's just kind of a sexy industry. You know, it's like doctors and lawyers and mortgage people kind of fell into the same thing, that nobody knows how to calculate a mortgage. So it's the mystery. Getting into compressed natural gas, it was energy independence. You could sell that, and that was T. Boone Pickens was my mentor there, and it was an easy sell, but difficult to get into the market. Cannabis has been honestly the most widely accepted, but most hard regulatorily to get into. So with natural gas, we could promote on all the channels, Google, you could advertise. With cannabis, we're being restricted every time you turn around, whether it's social media or Google or any other radio advertising. Everywhere you turn, you're getting restricted.
Yeah, absolutely. That's somebody said the other day, you can make a lot of money on your YouTube channel. It's like, yeah, not us. We have hemp in our name. There's no profitability there at all.
Yep. Cannot monetize it.
Okay, so before we get into the hemp and cannabis side a little bit, tell me a little bit about this blockchain and what you're doing on the blockchain side or the crypto side.
Yeah, so I'm representing a company out of Ohio that's doing virtual currency, and it's a little bit different than blockchain. It's localized virtual currency. Difference primarily is with cryptocurrency, you can convert it back to US currency. With virtual currency, it is spent into existence, and very similar to traditional currency, it stays there. So it has to be spent, not
in virtual
realm
or whatever.
And so we're going to be launching in the Tampa market of Florida next quarter, and it's exciting. Being able to subsidize teachers and low income students and low income housing and things like that with virtual currency. If we can stand this up to where the virtual currency is being accepted. And that's the rub with cryptocurrency and virtual currency is the acceptance. There was an article in the Washington Post this morning that merchants are slow to adopt. And one of the ways that my client is trying to overcome that is by setting up a Craigslist type of online merchant so that you've got somewhere to spend the currency.
Okay, so Jeff, tell me a little bit about your company now that you're working with in the hemp industry.
Okay, so Greens Reserve has been around for 16 months. Hard to believe. We started with a vision. When I left Green Roads and started the Florida Hemp Council, it wasn't a destination. It was a stopping point. It was a path to doing something that I wanted to do. I'm a serial entrepreneur, and so it was just figuring it out. And I started out trying to sell hemp flower. It was what seemed to be one of the things that Green Roads wasn't selling. I didn't want to compete with my clients, so I was looking for things outside of tinctures, gummies, creams, and the traditional early products that came out on the market. So started with the raw flower, but realized quickly that the testing was very difficult to manage. And the last thing I wanted was to sell a retailer a product that I thought was perfectly legal, but they could get arrested for. So that was a non-starter for me. The second thing was going to pre-rolls. I thought that was the obvious next step. If you can't regulate flower, you can regulate THC and pre-rolls. And very quickly, I found out that the barrier to entry in the pre-roll market made it very difficult to make any money. You had to really specialize in specific products. And I'm still finding, I get probably a call a week from somebody that is launching a hemp cigarette or a hemp pre-roll company that wants to partner with our Snuff because it's the obvious tag. And we did a lot of research before we launched our company. And what we found at least was smokers don't want to change, but dippers do.
Interesting.
And so we were on a Zoom call about 16 months ago with my team. And I said, I don't think pre-rolls is it. We got to figure it out. And one of my partners started doing this in the Zoom, packing his can of Copenhagen. And I said, we should do hemp for that. And he goes, I'm sure somebody's doing it. And so for 2 or 3 days, I did the research, found out that there are 3 or 4 other players in the market, but nobody was doing it, in my opinion, very well. We put the business plan on a napkin. I got funded for about $150,000 to get started. And we bought a couple of mixers, found a flavor company, found a hemp supplier that could mill the product the way we wanted it to, figured out what we needed to mill it to, and launched the company. Okay. And we're on our 4th iteration of products now. So we've gone from our original, what we thought was a great product, to 4 generations later in 16 months. And now we think it's it mimics smokeless tobacco taste and feel almost identically now.
Okay, I want to see it. So I grew
Yeah.
up in Wyoming. I don't know how many people can say this. Yes. Okay, I love it. I love it. Can I see what your packaging looks like?
Yeah. So this is a can. So you've
Yeah.
got, this is an old one. Let me get a new one. This is our new flavor. This is strawberry kiwi. And this is long cut. So we have fine cut and long cut right now. We're going to be adding pouches. And we've been saying this for 6 months. The pouch machine that we have to use to make pouches is being permitted. And that's that UL rating that we have to get. Hopefully we'll get that by early February. So the bottom of it right now has the lot and batch and expiration date. We're going to have that automated where it's stamped on it going forward. And then the side of the can has both a UPC code and a QR code. So cool. The QR code leads to third-party testing.
Very cool. Okay, so what are the chances of us making all that packaging out of hemp packaging?
We can talk. I mean, right now I've got quotes in for us buying the molds and being our own can manufacturer.
Just injection molding?
We're going to use biodegradable cans, and getting that was difficult at a price point that we were comfortable with. We've got that down to, I think, 13 cents a can. So it's going to be hard to beat. Labels were down to 2.1 cents per can. So I don't think you can beat that either.
Yeah. Hey, not enough. But yeah, if it's biodegradable, obviously that's great. There's been so much technology that's come out, and I'm sure you know in the hemp space on the plastics and the PLCA and whatever the other plastics are, if I even said that right.
Yeah. Well, awesome. The decision we made for biodegradable was it was a half a cent per can. Oh. So it was a no-brainer for us. From an environmental perspective, living in Florida, seeing the sea turtles and all of the other sea creatures just getting inundated with plastic, we didn't want to be part of the problem.
Well, and especially it's so funny, our industry itself, right? We speak, the language that comes with the cannabis around the sustainability, and then, the packaging that we use within our industry is sometimes a little embarrassing. So yeah, congratulations. I'm really impressed.
Thanks. Yeah. I mean, obviously growing the plant takes a lot of water. And so water management is urgently important. But Florida's got some of the best farmers in the world. If you can grow in Florida, you can grow anywhere is what I like to say. Yeah. So the guys down here, at least, that are growing hemp it's been a struggle. We have 2 seasons. We have the rainy season and the dry season. And so it's been a challenge for a lot of them, but genetics are starting to come. You're doing seed trials, the game. It's a genetics, when the genetics get modified. Funny story I like to tell was when the University of Florida was researching sugarcane. The first sugarcane that was grown in Florida grew, and there were no crystals inside the cane. And they had to genetically modify the sugarcane so that the crystals would grow in the Florida climate. And once they did, we have the 3 largest sugar companies in the world.
Fantastic. Okay. So you said something just now that I want to go back to, because it's not what most people are preaching within the industry or in general, right? You hear this, hemp grows with no pesticides and no water, and it grows anywhere. Talk to me a little bit. I heard you say hemp requires water, and water management is something we've got to pay attention to.
Yeah. So Green Roads invested $1.3 million with the University of Florida to do research. And what was determined, and University of Florida threw out, I think, 10,000 seeds, and it rained 4 inches the next week. And that hemp does not like wet feet, doesn't like to be in standing water, but it also uses a fair amount of water, so to grow. So it's a catch-22 of it needs to be watered but not overwatered. With our mulch, we're finding that the hemp actually regulates water into other plants. Though when we put our hemp mulch on top of other plants, it kind of regulates, pulls out the diseases and toxins, and then regulates the amount of water that the flowers get or the plants get, so that it and then gets it basically also moves all the insects away. So if you've got a pest that is eating, and what we're using is wintergreen or mint flavor to push flies and things like that away.
Oh, okay. So mulch, you're using the stalk, chopping it up. And
Yeah. So well, our original thing was we bought some hemp from Kentucky, and it had lead in it. So we had to dispose of it. And the Holly Bell, the regulator for the state of Florida's husband, is my partner. And he called her and he said, "What should we do to destroy it?" And she said, "Well, bring it home. I'll put it in my garden." So this was wintergreen flavored. So Dallas put 4 trash can bags of our product in the back of his car, drove it to Tallahassee, and she put it in her garden. And for a month, her neighbors were trying to find out where she bought it because they wanted their garden to smell like her garden. And the idea was born. Now any product that is expired, and now we're also working with emptying barns, so that low grade hemp, using a much cheaper scenting versus flavoring, because flavoring is expensive, but scenting is much cheaper. So we're in the R&D side of it right now, but we're going to be sending out a 10-gallon canister to Wayne out in California for the expo, and he said he would put it out and see what kind of results he gets. So we're starting to push some product out. We sent it. We took a 55-gallon drum to one of the local patio bars in Ocala where we manufacture, and they had an outdoor kitchen with basically flies covering the door. There were hundreds of flies, and they put our mulch at the base of the door, and within an hour there were no flies there.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's been an interesting, the things that hemp can do. You know, there was an article today from Oregon State that hemp cures or prevents COVID.
Yeah,
it does. There's so many things it does.
That article went viral.
Yeah.
I mean, I have seen it in every news, and I have had 50 people send it to me.
Yeah. Well, then it hit the late shows last night. We're talking about it, and it's kind of funny that it's almost like the plant does so much. What doesn't it do?
Yeah, it's kind of, well, and trying to filter through that, right? How much of it, because there's still this oversold and coming back to reality, but definitely hit our country's fear factor when we address COVID.
Yeah, everybody's figuring that they should be smoking weed to avoid COVID.
Right. Well, yeah. Okay, so your background as a lobbyist, right? Mm-hmm. Talk to me a little bit, for those that may not know, and some of what I don't know, embarrassingly enough, but talk to me, where does your role really benefit the industry, right? And for those that don't understand the lobbyist role, or what you're doing, can you speak to that just a little bit briefly?
Sure. A lobbyist job is to educate legislators. So the rub that most lobbyists get is they're hired by large corporations because they're the only ones that can afford them, and they lobby to the benefit of the large corporations. And in some respects that's correct, because Facebook, all the large corporations have hundreds of lawyers and lobbyists in Washington, D.C. and in Sacramento and in Oregon to basically try to get mitigation from taxation, from regulations, and from onerous local ordinances. And so what a lobbyist does essentially is takes that case to their local or state or federal politician and educates them on why whatever they're lobbying against is harmful to their client. And in my case, Green Roads was a very altruistic client, from the perspective of they didn't want me to lobby necessarily for Green Roads as much as they wanted me to lobby for the industry. And so that was why it was so easy when we got our research bill and commercialization bill passed to kind of roll into a trade association, because I was already doing that. I was already doing lobbying for the industry. So having the rest of the industry kind of pay my salary made more sense than having Green Roads pay the salary for doing everything for the industry.
Yeah.
So that was the long and short of it is a lobbyist is nothing but somebody that educates lawmakers on why they should or shouldn't do something. And the way we got hemp passed in Florida, the way we got the research bill passed in Florida was I went to uh, probably a dozen, if not more, senators and congressmen, and their sole question of yes or no was, does it get you high? And when I said, well, this is just a research bill and hemp doesn't get you high, oh, I can vote for that. And then on the commercialization bill the next year, it was, hey, it's me again. Still doesn't get you high. Will you vote for it? Yeah, sure.
Yeah, it's still the same.
Yeah. So it was a pretty easy lobbying gig. I was really blessed with the connections that I had in Tallahassee to get it done. But the reality of it is that it was good timing. Timing is as important as anything else. We've seen, 71% of Floridians want legal marijuana. It's not happening because of Republican resistance, but it is, wanted.
Yeah.
The anti getting high folks are the folks that are holding it back right now. And, to that extent, I'm not somebody that gets high, so I don't necessarily advocate for or against, but all of my kids have their medical marijuana cards. And I highly recommend that anybody that's out there that wants to partake, do it legally. There's so many ways to do it legally now. I told my kids growing up, if you're going to buy your marijuana, buy it from me, not a street dealer, because I don't know what's in that. And I've got friends and I know what's in mine. So I don't have a problem with my kids experimenting with marijuana, but I didn't want them doing it laced with PCP or LSD or anything else. I wanted them to try the plant itself.
Or leftover residuals, right? You see
Correct.
the street market and the street demand for the concentrates and how they're processed. And the more I know, and the more educated I am, that's what scares me, is these residuals that are in addition to what could potentially be added, but what's unknowingly left or diluted or whatever they're doing with it.
We took our kids to New Orleans for Mardi Gras about 3 or 4 years ago, and obviously we got approached by street dealers, and I was educating the street dealer on why what they were selling was not good. My kids were laughing at me.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's interesting. I mean, even when you go into this, I think that's probably, let me back up. That's probably the most discouraging part that I battle with, is walking into these smoke shops or different places that are selling product and are completely uneducated about what they're selling. You know that Delta 8 is a completely natural product and it grows in the plant and it's 87% Delta 8.
Yeah, well, and then knowing that to make Delta 8, invariably you're going to have a pretty high amount of Delta 9 in it. So the way to make Delta 8 is very volatile, and the Delta 9 is going to come out in it. So I mean, the more you know, the more you know. And
and the smaller my circles get. I start to I mean, there have been a number of times we've even been to events and my eyes are like, wait, you just said what? So okay, so speaking of kind of your past and the lobbying and the roles, where do you see future opportunities, especially with the new farm bill changing? Or the new farm bill coming out?
I think that the next 2 to 5 years are going to be very interesting. I don't believe we're going to see the FDA making any bold statements. They've been a relatively conservative entity forever and heavily controlled by the pharmaceutical industry. And as you can see by the amount of people that are not taking pharmaceuticals because of cannabis, we're not good for the pharmaceutical industry. So it's going to happen one of two ways. Either the pharmaceutical industry is going to buy into our market, the tobacco industry is going to buy into our market, or they're going to try to prevent our market. I think the genie's out of the bottle from that perspective. So, I know at least 2 tobacco companies that are watching me very closely, because once we create critical mass and proof concept, they want to get into the game.
Of
They
course.
don't want to take that risk
Of
because
course.
that's not who they are. But well, they'll be happy to pay a 10-time multiplier if I'm successful. And so
Yeah.
that's, to me, that's that's the goal, is get to that point.
Yeah. Well, and you're already speaking to their customers, right? It becomes a
Yeah,
perfect fit and an obvious transition. I think that's
yeah,
the
yeah.
biggest thing is it's just this
Well, and that's,
obvious.
to me at least, that's the beauty of it, is that I'm getting 20 and 30-year dippers to quit using tobacco and use our product. That's going to bed at night knowing that is a wonderful thing,
Game changer.
versus something else. So
Yeah. Okay. Well, very, very cool. What's some of the feedback you've gotten? I mean, obviously quitting, but from customers, what are you really hearing as far as feedback from?
yeah, we're getting, across the board is, I'm going to dip forever. I'm dipping tobacco forever. So I don't, it was funny. We were at a trade show in Vegas last year, and there was this 15-year-old kid that was with his mother, and his mom goes, "You should try this." And the kid basically frowned and said, "I'm never going to put that in my mouth." And didn't think much about it. He came back the next day and goes, "Your stuff is amazing. I'm quitting tobacco today. I need more products." So it's amazing the psychological perspective of, I don't want to switch, to then trying the product, realizing that it does mimic tobacco very well, and then seeing that light bulb kind of go off, especially in the younger kids that they're having, this tobacco causes lip, throat, and tongue cancer, and we honestly believe that the cannabinoids that are in our product are going to revert, at least mitigate that, and potentially reverse it. And so, one of the things that we're doing with the University of Florida is we're doing urinalysis trials right now to make sure that the 0.04% THC that's in our product doesn't cause a positive drug test. For truckers specifically, that's catastrophic. If they switch from tobacco to our product and test positive on a drug test, their careers are over. And I don't want that on my plate either.
I look at them and in like the oil field, any rigs or any electrical trade,
Yeah. Yeah.
any of the trade
Basically anywhere where you're getting
license.
drug tested on a regular basis.
I know a
That's where
license.
we're concerned twofold. At 0.04%, we're 10 times below the legal limit. And if a customer can use our product and cause a positive drug test, then the 50 nanograms of THC that the drugs test for is too low. If it doesn't pass a drug, it doesn't pop positive on a drug test, then we know that our customers can use it without any product. Baseball players are using it like crazy. We've got we basically attacked the minor league market because in Major League Baseball they ban advertising for tobacco and tobacco-like products.
Oh,
Now, 80% of baseball players dip based off of our research, and the league is not going to change that, but they are trying to prevent it from coming in, and we're considered a tobacco-like product by Major League Baseball right now. Now, the benefit that is Major League Baseball announced last year that they weren't going to do that their drug testing was not going to include THC. So we know for a fact that baseball players can use our product and not face any any fallout from using it on their professional level.
right.
I would love if the trucking industry said that, we're going to be much more cognizant of using hemp because truckers are the most back pain, leg
Yeah.
pain. They're sitting down for 8 hours a day in a truck.
Minimum.
Minimum.
Like,
Yeah, absolutely. And so they're the people that could use cannabinoids the most.
yes.
So, preventing them from doing so and making them use a tobacco product is criminal, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. How do people get in touch with you? How do they find your products?
So the website is Greenes Reserve, GREENES Reserve.com. We've got a Shopify store there where you can buy the product. We're on Amazon with our 5-packs right now. Amazon decided that our single cans were a violation of their product, but our 5-packs are not. So we're still on Amazon with our 5-packs.
Okay. Well, good. That works great.
And so what we found is that if you're going to use, if you try our product and you like it, then you're going to use it habitually. And so selling 5-packs made the most sense. And so we do that at a pretty decent discount. And so it's one of the ways that we feel like that we're listening to our clients. The one thing that we've learned from the retailers that we're talking to is that flavors are important. We came out with mango and strawberry kiwi this quarter. They're a millennial flavor. The old school guys that are tasting it says it tastes like crap. And I tell them,
still like
do
the
you like
taste
our
of lemon.
natural or wintergreen flavor? And they go, yeah, we like that. And I said, well, then shut up. Use the flavors you like and don't use the flavors you don't.
Yeah. It's definitely a different generation. It's that original Copenhagen to wintergreen to
Well, and we watch all the social media for our tobacco competitors as well as our hemp competitors, and watch the flavors that they're coming out with and see the response that they get. So we're just doing kind of what everybody else is doing. But the strawberry kiwi was unique to us. I don't think anybody else had done that, and it's a sweet but not too sweet taste. And so far, we've had rave success with our strawberry kiwi.
Excellent. Okay, so getting high versus getting healthy. We talk about, it's funny because as much as we talk, I guess I could take this comment off here. Sorry about that. As much as we talk about, wanting to protect this desire and this drive from the industry to get, or from the American people, I guess, world to get high, right? Everybody is looking for either Delta 8, or I shouldn't say looking for, it's moving on the shelves very easily. It's flowing.
Yeah, I mean, the reason that marijuana is popular and the reason that Delta 8 was popular is that demand for getting high. To me, getting high is an escape. And so the amount of stress that we've got going on in this country right now, the amount of isolation that we've got going on right now, it makes perfect sense. But there are ways that you can reduce that stress with other cannabinoids that doesn't get you high, that is more beneficial to you health-wise and less prohibitive to you in other things. To me, if you get high, your day is spent. I mean, you're not as productive. And there are plenty of guys that will argue that they can smoke pot all day and be productive. And I'm not arguing that. That's not what I'm saying. But generally speaking, especially for me as somebody that doesn't do it often.
And there's a difference in using it intentionally and using it just to get high, right? Or using it, whether you are getting high with the intent of easing pain or whatever those, you know what I mean? I'm with you. There's like such a gray area I'm not saying don't go do it, or that every time you can't function, but there's this big gray.
Yeah, and I mean, one of the things that we're looking at doing is coming out with some, other products. That's the one. We're looking at some other products that we may do. We are possibly going to be licensing our process to a Colorado-based company that wants to make a Delta 9 snuff, a product that does get you high. And I'm not opposed to that. I mean, if somebody wants to use it, it's a methodology. The receptors in your lip are some of the best receptors in your body. Trying to get a pouch through the FDA is going to be probably one of the largest challenges that we have. But I believe that when we can fill a pouch with hemp, add terpenes to make it specific and patentable, and then show that it's mitigating or removing cancer cells, I think that's going to be a game changer. And I watched Green Roads give their product to an 8-year-old boy that had a brain tumor, and that tumor shrunk from in half in about 6 months. So I know that the cannabinoids work. It's more than something on Google. I saw it live. I watched a gorilla in Tampa that they gave their product to basically go from an isolated shell of a creature to a socially embracing mammal by using their product for about 6 months. It's the things that you can watch this plant do with creatures that have, no placebo effect. Apes don't have
Right.
placebo effects.
Right.
So granted, I will tell you that certainly a fair amount of humans have placebo effects. What they think is going to happen is what happens. But with apes, that's not the case.
Yeah, I could go on and on about this for a long time, but I really quick want to give a shout out to people that are listening. Thank you very much for joining. Let us know that you're here. If you have questions for Jeff, you want to give a shout out, say hello, drop a comment, and we'll show up on our end. We'll be sure to share it. But I would love to, hear where you guys are from. And also just reminder to join Global Hemp Association on globalhempassociation.org. We'd love to have you as a member. I'd love to highlight you or highlight others that you know that are in the industry as well. So I saw Joanne had left a comment previously. I'll share it again on the screen so you have her contact information, but please reach out to us. We'd love to support you. Really excited. So Jeff,
awesome. Yeah, and I'm a huge supporter of all of the organizations. Like we talked about it before, Patrick Atagi's organization and Jeff Whaling's organization, the Florida Hemp Council, your organization, all of us have to work collaboratively together to get this thing done.
Yes, absolutely. And shout out to them as well. I've been to a number
and the Costa Rican Hemp Council. We launched the Costa Rican Hemp Council this quarter as well, and Costa Rica is about to legalize hemp and marijuana very soon, if not already. Yeah,
within this week or so. We're just waiting for signatures on papers, right? That's awesome. Very, very good. I'll actually be out in Costa Rica at the end of this week, and so end of this month. And so
my sister-in-law is Costa Rican. We flew down for the wedding several years back, and it's a beautiful country, and the people are fantastic. So it's going to be a fun time. And I got basically appointed to their board about 6 months ago, and we've been slowly working through the process of the Costa Rican relationship. It's been an interesting. The U.S. government is one thing. The Costa Rican government, and now Green's Reserve is actually going to be in 8 countries on Amazon, and getting through the customs of the EU, UK, Mexico. Right now, Canada is prohibitive because of their rules. Hey, James, I wish we could be in Canada. Your restrictive rules of having American products is a challenge.
He's a rock star. I've got to give James a shout out real quick. He's doing some awesome things, building a car out of hemp and traveling. He's interviewed a ton of different people in the industry, in the automotive space, but an awesome rock star.
We probably get 5 or 10 requests weekly from Canadians that want our product. And right now, unless Amazon ships it, we can't sell it because we cannot ship to Canada.
Interesting. When we talk about international, right, as you've really moved into the Costa Rica market also, talk to me about some of those difficulties. Like you said, I wouldn't have thought.
Yeah, so there's a friend of mine, Michael Patterson, up in Fort Pierce, that has been working with me for 2 or 3 years now doing test shipments. We sent a bottle of hemp oil to South Africa about 2 years ago, and it took 4 months to get through the process. Green's Reserve sent a box of 20 of our 5-packs to London for Amazon EU, UK fulfillment. And so far we are on our 33rd day of logistics to try to get it through there. And as of last Friday, had I not completed a document that took me 20 seconds to complete, they would have destroyed the product. And they had 10 days to do it. They didn't notify me until the 9th day. So there are plenty of restrictions and issues as far as getting product into foreign countries and getting through the customs. And then even the legalization, half the time the customs agents don't get the memo. And if they destroy your product, your product is destroyed. It doesn't matter what the law is.
Oh my gosh. So they just,
when you're sending, and that's why we send typically $100 or $200 packages initially just to get the flow of the system. I'm not going to send a pallet of $20,000 worth of product and watch it get destroyed. Right.
Test it out, get to know, especially get them used to your product, used to know what they're seeing, and that's great feedback. So if anybody's listening, somebody said one day, Mandi, there's always these perfect little nuggets that you miss out during your interviews. That's one. For those of you that are trying this out. Yes, that's
Yep.
definitely one. Okay, so using hemp to replace other products, where do you see opportunity? Obviously you guys
Oh,
are
geez,
focused.
the opportunities are endless.
Yeah,
We're obviously replacing a tobacco.
yep.
I've watched a couple of guys that are basically grinding the plant down to its carbon elements and replacing metals and fiberglass and uh, other building products. I know that our counterparts in Colorado and uh, other parts are working diligently in the building supply trades to get insulation and particle board and that kind of stuff approved. The legacy companies have done a really good job of creating a firewall behind, between them and their competitive products. The reason that hemp was made illegal in the first place was that the paper industry and the paper industry and the railroad industry, I guess, were the two that pretty much partnered to get it outlawed. And so the reality of it is still paper is going to be a tough sell. There's a paper supplier out in California and she's a rock star, but it's a tough market trying to do that. What Green Roads tasked me with in my second year was do your due diligence on the entire industry and tell us what other products that you think we should do. And I looked at clothing, and China dominated that market. Trying to create a clothing line would be difficult, but it's becoming more and more plausible. I know that Milliken approached me 2 or 3 years ago wanting fibers that I couldn't find on the planet, and last year 2 or 3 people came up with it. So we're making progress across the board. It's going to replace well, I won't say replace. It's going to work collaboratively with other natural fibers like cotton and wool. It's going to collaborate with sugar and replace plastic. I believe strongly that the hemp straws that are made out of hemp and sugar cellulose will be better than paper for sure.
Oh,
And
they are.
uh,
They are. I get so sick of paper straws. They
yeah,
taste so disgusting.
yeah. So there are right now the sugar industry is making clamshell for takeout. I
Mhm.
think that taking that sugar cellulose and adding hemp fibers to it is going to make it a much more palatable option. And so we're working with Big Sugar here in Florida to try to work on that. It's the opportunities are endless. Replacing pharmaceuticals, uh, replacing tobacco, collaborating with natural fibers. Um, as a food source, tiny or the microgreens and other um, omega folks that like that kind of stuff. The seeds are grass right now, so you can get the seed generally regarded as safe. So you can get the seeds anywhere. I know that I'm pretty sure that Green Roads applied for generally regarded as safe application on a lot of their products. So it'll be interesting to see if any of those get approved. There's just the list is almost endless. The politicians have said there's 50,000 uses of hemp, and it's very difficult to write out 50,000 uses. I wasn't able to do it, but when you start really diving down into it and start thinking that our business cards are made out of a hemp fiber,
Mhm.
our packaging can be made out of hemp. It's almost everything can be made out of hemp, and I can see where, and old school ropes and sails and all of the traditional things that were made out of hemp. This government required farmers to grow hemp in the 40s.
Hey, you paid your taxes with it way back when.
Yeah.
That's what's like. It's funny to me when people say, "Well, if it's so great, then why don't we have it?" It's like, well, look around us, right? We are the ones that are new to the crop. The crop is not new. It's not a
Yeah.
new business. It's not a new idea. We've got new science since we've had an opportunity to study it.
Yeah, Dr. Mashula out of Israel kept
Yeah.
researching this plant when the U.S. Demonified it. So Israel has 60 years of research that he has on his plate that is just amazing. And that's where the endocannabinoid system was discovered. That's where most of the cannabinoids, 240 cannabinoids now, It's we don't even know what the plant does.
No. Well, that's just it. It's, yeah. Somebody also said, well, if it's been around for so long, how come, why don't we have it right away? Well, soybeans, how long did it take soybeans to become mainstream once it was studied and, implemented as a rotation crop? 40 years, or
Yep.
so. So we've got a long time, and we're moving fast. Like you said, I'd like to go back and start doing re-interviews of people, because I can't believe how many people have shifted from, say, a cannabinoid to a fiber product now, or started with just looking for funding to now operating, or we're operating to not operating, and so
Yeah.
yeah, I'd really
Well,
like.
that's what we found with Florida licenses, because everything in Florida is licensed, whether it's growing it, manufacturing it, or retailing. You have to get licensed in Florida, and we saw about a 30% loss of license, but a 40% increase in licensing. So basically, we got more licenses than pre-pandemic, even though about a third of the folks that came in pre-pandemic got out of the market. So there are plenty of people replacing those earlier people, I guess is the point.
Yeah. Okay, so there's a couple of questions. James just made a really good comment that I'm going to bring back, because it goes back to your currency also, I think. But
Okay.
Here is a question on how soon will the testing be completed for the THC and users of your product at UF?
So right now we are recruiting volunteers in Gainesville to test our product. That's somebody that hasn't used any other cannabis products in 60 days and will only use our product for the 30-day test. We're trying to work on getting those by the end of February and start the test in March. Obviously, the 30 days will be over in April. Then UF will have to do write their report, which takes about 90 days. May, June, July. By the summer, we should have a report out.
Cool. Great question. Thanks, Bradley, for saying that. Okay, so James, on a previous broadcast on Global Hemp Association, a gentleman said it best when he said government should have nothing to do with a natural product. It's a big business. Stop being it.
Yeah, yes and no. I mean, the government has something to do with everything, and so if you don't think corn is subsidized by the government, you need to go back and do some research. If you don't think ethanol was a complete sham, go back and do some research. The reality of it is that you have to work collaboratively with the government on everything, and that's what lobbying is all about too, is having a symbiotic relationship with the government to make sure that you can do what you want to do as long as it's not harmful to others, and arguably even when it is harmful to others, if you disclose it, because that's
because then it becomes choice, right? Yeah, absolutely. You made a comment, and of course I forgot what else I was going to just ask you about government research and currency.
And government, 80% of research is funded by government.
Oh yeah.
So you have to work collaboratively. You can't. There's not enough money well, I guess technically there is enough money in private sector, but there's not going to be enough money in the private sector to spend.
Well, to keep it out of a monopoly either, right? I look at some of this.
Right, and that's the other side of this is you don't want somebody that can afford to do the research to hoard that research. That's what the beauty of the government researching it is. It becomes public knowledge.
Or that it's one-sided, right? And I think that's something like, for example, on our seed trials, really being able to put data out that can withstand peer review, right? That is valid third-party, non-biased data or research, so that we can educate our consumers.
Yeah. Well, and that peer review is the what makes it so important. For the longest time, you Google hemp or marijuana, and you're getting somebody in their basement spouting knowledge, and sometimes it's accurate, but more often than not, it's an opinion.
Mm-hmm. David on our show just said, placing an order now. Any discount codes that we can use for today?
Let's see.
Hey, good question, David. I would not have asked that. That's a great question.
Try Jeff GR10 and see if that gets you 10% off. If it doesn't, email me at jeff.greene@greensreserve.com, and I'll get I'll get a discount code. We do a 10% discount code for things like this.
Oh, cool. Very cool. And it's reserved.
And thanks for the order, David. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Is it Green Reserve or S?
Green's Reserve.
Green's Reserve with an E.com, right?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Very cool. Well, awesome. I'll show that code right here. Well, anything else with the farm bill coming up? What do you anticipate? I know we talked.
That's a great question. Right now, we're trying to get some language put into any bill that comes through there. Federally, getting anything done is a challenge, as you can see with the voting rights bill right now that's about to become a shit show in the Senate. I don't. Federally, I've had very little luck in lobbying because, first and foremost, it's highly regulated. Being able to say, I'm a consultant in DC, not a lobbyist, because being a lobbyist in DC is sharks. I'm a lobbyist in Florida because Florida legislature tends to get things done, and we are starting session now. There are a couple of bills that FDAX is concerned about, and I'm going to be researching those today and tomorrow, and potentially getting up to Tallahassee. It's a Republican legislature, but it is a pragmatic legislature as well in Florida, so we can get things done by proof of. I got 3 bills approved in 3 sessions. So we got the research bill done year one, commercialization bill done year 2. And then glitch bill done to fix the things we screwed up in the first 2 bills in year 3. So it was bang, bang, bang. Marijuana, on the other hand, has gotten medical marijuana, and then they've tried to figure out that for the last 5 or 6 years. And they've turned that into a ridiculous process. But the state of Florida is also issuing more medical marijuana licenses this year, I believe. So you're going to see that.
Oh, I think I froze, or you froze for a second. Are you still there? You there? Oh, I see you now. Can you hear me? Maybe I'm frozen now.
Oh, there we go.
Okay, you're good. I thought you froze for a second. Welcome to technology. I knew as soon as I started talking, you'd come back, so I just held quiet.
So the state is going to be issuing new medical marijuana licenses this year, and so you're seeing a lot of money running into Florida for those. With our potential partnership with a Colorado marijuana company to make a marijuana product similar to ours, we're going to be licensing it to somebody in all 26 states that currently have a legal framework for marijuana. Those have to be sold within the state, so the opportunity is smaller, but they can charge more for the product, obviously. So it's going to be an interesting year. Going back to one of your early questions, I think that it's going to get easier and easier, I believe. I'm hopeful.
I hope so. I hope so. I mean, at least we'll be more educated.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. It's
we've gone through permitting. I was shut down for 64 days waiting on our permits in Ocala, and it was a nightmare. One of the things that you don't plan on as an entrepreneur is scale. And when you have to go from a manual process to an automated process and get your factory, get it GMP certified, get foreign equipment installed, get it UL certified, because most of the technology is coming from overseas. There's very few manufacturers in the United States for some of our products. And if it does, it's more likely than not that it's going to be CE rated instead of UL rated. And then you got to get an engineer to come down and bless it that it's UL approved. And so that takes time and money. Everything costs twice as much, takes twice as long, and just continues to drag out. But I hope that in the next 2 to 5 years, Facebook, Instagram, Google, Amazon are all more hemp friendly, and we start being able to advertise more. I hope that local ordinances become more or less restrictive to penalizing companies that have hemp in their name. I hope that
grants open up for crops, for
say
specialty
again.
crops. Grant money.
Grant
You know,
money.
there's a lot of grant money and federal money denied at the state level that's intended for specialty crops, because in the state they still don't consider hemp as fundable. And just being able to see like that transition, that it trickles down to the state and county level so that funds can be used for the R&D phase. And so,
well, and then making all your local guys aware that the USDA considers hemp a specialty crop. That was a huge thing.
It makes me so mad. I applied for one recently and got denied again.
Yeah, absolutely.
I even sent a document from another member who overturned their ruling and ended up getting approved.
It just takes time. It just takes time because what happens at the federal level has to trickle down to the local level, and that can take anywhere from 10 seconds to 10 years.
Well, and again, it's so much about our relationship, right? So this kind of goes back to the power of being able to be face to face and work collaboratively with both parties, because reality is we need that. And
yeah, absolutely. We started working with the U.S. Trade Association, USTA, in the last quarter, and they've been very, supportive. It was funny though. They started with, "I'm not sure we can help you, so let me check." And then it took them about 3 or 4 weeks to get the approval. But once they did, they've been wonderful. So it's just a matter of, making sure that they talk to the right people, making sure that they understand who we are and what we're doing, and that our goal is to do it the right way. One of the things that the Florida Hemp Council does, as well as the Global Hemp Association, is bringing up good actors, not bad actors. There are plenty of bad actors out there, and that's who they're going to.
It's a black guy in our industry, right?
100%.
But reality is this collaboration has bred conversation, and those people are naturally weeded out, right? These bad actors, and so that's where I more and more say, being able to provide a platform or us all get together, each one. When you told me earlier the collaboration that's happening in the industry, right? That's exactly what we need. And it becomes a trusted voice for our government, so that they know that, we're no longer working against our own industry, which we still see. I mean,
that's the side of marijuana versus hemp. We cannot be against each other. That's crazy. And that's, one of the things that happened in Florida early was the medical marijuana folks were threatened by the hemp industry. And we had to let them know very quickly that our goal was not to usurp them, but to work collaboratively. And now we work in conjunction. Most of the medical marijuana companies are referring out to CBD if somebody doesn't want to get high.
Yeah.
So it just takes time.
Absolutely. Okay. Well, I really appreciate your time. Anybody else, if you guys have any other questions, don't hesitate to reach out to either Jeff or I. Thank you very much for coming on. Are you going to be traveling to any events, going out to NOCO or?
We've canceled a lot of our trade shows. We are going to be launching a Florida educational program with the Florida Department of Agriculture next quarter. So we'll be announcing that very soon. We are going to be at Gene Jones' event in Orlando this summer, as both the Florida Hemp Council and as Greens Reserve. The rest of the trade shows I've put on hiatus because of the COVID issues. But last year we went to the White Label Conference in Vegas. That was an amazing show for us. We were going to go back this year, but our business models changed a little bit, and COVID got a little crazy. We had originally talked about going to the World CBD Awards in Barcelona, but again, the cost and U.S. Trade Association was going to pay 50% of our trip, but putting that kind of money right now into something that we may or may not be able to do, and then the last thing you want to do is get over there and be
get stuck. Then
Yokovich or something where they quarantine you because of you don't have the proper testing or something. It's crazy. Too many crazy things happening right now.
My worry is you get over there and you can't get back home.
Right.
Then you don't have Yeah, that's my fear is.
A friend of mine went down to Cabo and got stuck in Cabo for a couple of weeks. That wasn't the worst thing.
Hey, that's okay. I got sent home from Hawaii. I went over and they didn't accept my test and they just flew me home. I had a chance to go to jail for 14 days or fly home. And I was like,
oh, wow.
I just got here. They're like, we know. I was like, what? So I flew back home.
Things are upside down. It's funny though. I talked to my virtual currency guys, and I said, I grew up as a Keynesian economic theorist, and drugs are bad. And I said, in the last 5 years, I've learned that drugs are good, and virtual currency is also a plausible currency. And I'm like, my whole world has been turned upside down.
Had someone said you'd be here at 18, you would have never bought it. That's awesome.
So
awesome.
It's been fun though. The nice thing about being a serial entrepreneur is you've got to have the thick skin and the ability to kind of roll with it. And this is an industry where if you are high strung and can't roll with the punches, you're not going to make it, because nothing goes according to plan.
Or if you're a strict planner, like I'm with you.
Like, strict planner, it's out the door.
We just always say we're fixing the plane while it's flying. Like, it's no planning and trying to figure this out. And it was funny too. Somebody said the other day, well, what about all the certified seeds that we're using? And somebody's like, certified seeds? Like, in the US, what certified seeds is everybody using? Like, everybody talks about it, but really trying to nail down what's actually
the definition of the certification. Those were the things that you start digging down into the details, and it's ridiculous. The best seeds and certified seeds are not the same. That's and to get a seed certified is expensive and takes time. And that's not necessarily in a fast moving market where genetics are key. Do you want a 2 to 3 to 5 year delay on getting those genetics to market?
Yeah, exactly. Well, and really even then you've got to stabilize them and prove them, and there's so much to it. So, well, we're hosting, the reason I bring up another event too is we're hosting the awards banquet, or co-hosting with NOCO, and really focused on bringing industry leaders in and recognizing leadership outside of just a product or just consumer good, but also on the economic impact and the women in agriculture and things like that. So I put the shout out that I'd love to have you there. It's a plated dinner. So I'll definitely send you information over, but it's just one night over NOCO.
We love to travel. We've been very restricted. I planned on taking my wife up to New York for her birthday and got that shut down because of COVID. So there's so many things that we like to do. I'm a foodie and love to travel. So the other aspects of my life are being woefully neglected right now.
Well, either way, we hope to see everybody there. Those that are going to be attending NOCO, we'd love to have you. It's an awesome additional benefit.
When is it, Mandi?
It's March 25th through the 27th.
Right. So we might be able to do something by then.
Yeah. Anyways, I'll send out information. You can register on the NOCO page. They're selling tables. I think you can buy like a table of 8 for a company for the dinner, or per seat. Pretty exciting. But anyways, I hope to see you guys there. We're at our hour. I'll let everybody go. Have a wonderful day. Brad, I hope to see you in NOCO. He says he'll be there. Be sure to get a ticket. Okay. Thank you, guys. See you later. Gary's here to say hi.